Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of the Mediator, the Listen and Learn segment. I'm here with Terrance Tarver, aka Bugs. He's going to be talking about his experience and being incarcerated, coming from Youngstown, and pretty much how he was able to develop to what you see now. So Terrance, man, thanks for coming on the show.
Man, thank you, man, for having me, bro.
Yeah, now
Appreciate you.
first thing, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you play football. Tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
yeah.
man. Listen, man. First of all, again, I want to thank you, man, for this collaboration, man. I want to work with serious journalists, man.
Yeah.
That's something, and I ran across your content, man, and I appreciate your work and the serious content because without the stuff I'm bringing is serious issues. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want it
yeah.
to be. So, thank you for the
Yeah,
collaboration,
yeah.
man. So we can, make this happen. But first of all, man, yeah, I'm a Youngstowner, man. I'm this city, man. I literally got, my entire family here, man. I got a big family, and one thing about it, I guess this our blood is in the concrete in this city. So but the Tarvers, man, my family, my extended family, people who raised me, man. This Youngstown, man, we rooted in this city. But yeah, I played sports, man. I went to Rand, played was an athlete, but man, during that time, man, that was in the height of the '90s, and my athletic aspirations kind of get diminished because back then, man, it was about survival.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it was like football or survive, and then I had a lot of other extended personal issues
Yeah.
as a young man coming up then. So I really just didn't have the discipline and the focus, man, to really make it if I wanted, you know what I mean? Because I had so many outside distractions.
Now, if
But
people don't know that in the '90s, Youngstown had a lot of gangs, a lot of drugs trafficking, and this was at the height, where you had a lot of. This was where the industry was taking off. So now, tell us how you went. What happened at that particular time frame for you to? I know. If people read the articles, they'll know that, especially like some of the paths, how you ended
right.
up getting incarcerated. Tell us how it all happened. Like what led up to the point to
Yeah.
you being football and then.
Listen, I went through a lot of phases, bro. It wasn't, I mean, I went slip from football to drug addiction to money addiction
Yeah,
to,
yeah. Now how did it happen? How did it happen?
and what? Let me tell you something. First of all, because I come from like a lot of young men. My story, I come from the streets.
Yeah.
The woman who raised me, it was my mother, only mother I knew. She was from the streets.
Uh-huh.
So all people in that community can do is teach survival tactics. So, it wasn't never really a choice for me.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things my mother told me, man, that really sticks with me was a boy turns into a man when he understands that nobody cares. And unless he brings value to a family or situation, nobody cares. And she
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
once you realize that, that's when you become a man. And I did that at a young age. So it went from me trying to play sports to me just trying to pay bills,
Uh-huh.
survive, feed myself, because I didn't have support. I didn't have parents.
Yeah.
The money, so not an excuse, but hey, I made my choices. So, and then my mother sold drugs. My mother was a drug dealer. First drugs I ever sold, my mother gave me. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I was taught in the household. And, one thing, my mother, the streets, the rules, the code, she lived it, she was it. And so I had a early conditioning from a little boy, man, 9 years old. 9 years old, man, I was exposed to the streets. So,
So you look at this environment, today's culture,
right.
and I talk to a lot of guys who get caught up in the drug trade. They all say the same thing. Some of them even say that they were brought in by certain people because they had certain qualities as a man, as a leader.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How did you get? You basically said it started with your mom, but once you started. How did you? I mean, what did you like? Do most people have a conscience? Like, did you have a conscious mind when you were brought in?
Well, let me ask you a question. That's a good question. Man. Let me ask you a question. What is the age of consent legally? What is the age of consent?
Usually it's 18, I believe.
All right. So when you're exposing a 9-year-old child or 10, 11, or 13, 14-year-old child to everything under the sun, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, yeah. So
We're
you,
instinctive creatures and we adapt to our environments. That's what make black, especially us as African Americans, make us so powerful because of our adaptability. But also it has been a hindrance because we come into negative environments. We're born into negative environments. and we adapt. And I just was one of those ones that adapted to that environment. Now, were there options? Of course. But I was struggling with things.
Yeah.
See, really, I never got diagnosed. And we go through life, we never really get diagnosed. And, and I was
Makes
struggling
sense.
with a
That
lot
makes
of
sense.
stuff, man,
Yeah,
as a child.
trauma.
Mental health, trauma, you know what I mean? Cognitive dissonance, you know what I mean? Dissonance, rather. You know, where, you know, you believe so long that something's the truth that you accept it and you don't accept no other way or perspective of life. And that's what happened with me, man. I got so indoctrinated with that toxic thinking, toxic rationale that it became
a part of you.
yeah.
Now I hear a lot of guys. Their stories sound similar.
Of course,
You know,
I'm not no unique guest. Yeah. It's not no unique story.
But yours,
I'm gonna give you the other perspective though. That's what makes me a little bit different. But yeah, it's African American story.
The unique thing about your story though is that you were bred into it. That's what it sounds like.
Like you train pit bulls, they train us to be hustlers.
Now we have this new culture where it's become a custom for people to villainize those who become incarcerated, get tangled up in the system, and when they're villainized, they're looked at as inhumane, criminal justice, or they're entangled in the criminal justice system. They're looked at as criminals. They're studied, their behavior.
Definitely.
But
I was a part of some of those assessments.
Yeah. Now tell us. I talked to a lot of guys from prison. They explain the prison life from their angle, and some of these guys, when you talk to them, they're open to how the system is when they're incarcerated. They talk about how it's almost like a system that's put in place, a slavery mentality. Now tell us what your experience was like when you were incarcerated. Did you see anything? Give me the pros and cons.
Well, okay. The pros. One thing about prison, man, if you have any flaws, if you have any weaknesses, that's a place where you can deal with them, and you need to. And that's what we don't have enough of. If you got any flaws or any things, any imperfections with yourself, prison is a place you can work on. That's one. That's one of the pros. One of the cons is a lot of men don't have that ability. So they struggle with prison. They go through prison, never really gaining no insight or change of perspective, and we make the same mistakes again. Or we go through the situation kind of unhealed. And that's one of the things I definitely want to talk about is, you know, like I said, the trauma and stuff that a lot of us deal with. We're sick and we're not, you know, properly diagnosed. And we go through those processes with no help, no real training, no real sincere rehabilitation. And we end up in the same situation. It's a revolving cycle. It's a mental health issue.
Yeah.
It's not a crime issue. It's a mental health issue.
It's a mental health. Now you see, today, you have each political party infighting. And when coming from a journalistic standpoint, when I'm talking to somebody who has been incarcerated, they'll say, well, it started out with a few of my friends hanging out. Now, tell us a little about the organization that you were running before you got incarcerated, and tell us a little about what happened, what took place, and how did you end up entangled in the system?
There was no one moment. I've been in it all my life. So we live in a progressive society, and I just progressed up the chain. And there was no real one moment, like no defining moment. I've been in the streets since 1985, man.
That's all you knew.
You know, and that's all I knew, you know. And so it wasn't no real one pin, but you know, one thing about it, my ambition took me places.
Yeah.
You know. But other than that, I made a lot of mistakes too.
So your story is being told from now. You want your story to be told from the angle. Tell us which part. Do you want your story to be told from the angle of?
Listen, I'm gonna tell my story through my projects I got going on, and that's what like everything I'm coming to you about. I'm like, man, this is media.
Yeah.
And I got Habitual Hustler, the clothing line that I'm focused on. I got Hood Politics, my platform that I want to keep collaborating with you on. I got other ventures and stuff. I want to do stuff for the city. So the point you're making is, you know, I just take all that and focus it on winning, man, and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Now, going through those journeys of prison, what I had to do was understand I got to stay mission minded. That's what this is about. That's why I come to you and I'll be calling you and texting you, because I want everybody to get a chance to understand Youngstown got something to offer. And so if I focus on those things, you know what? The rest of it going to take care of itself, man.
So that's where we're headed into now. We're going to talk about your plans now that you're out, and what is your goal now that you're out of the system? What goals do you have, especially being in this community?
I'm looking for redemption. You know, I'm looking for redemption for one. Two, I want to just bring the spotlight to this city, man. And I honestly believe there's some real talent in this city. So that's my passion. I'm channeling all that negativity that happened to me. I'm channeling it into building something in this city.
Yeah.
I'm so dead serious about it. And that's the problem. Like, if you don't, anybody who know me know, once I, set my mind to do something, it's done. And what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to bring something important to the city. That right there, is my main goal at this moment. I got bigger aspirations, but definitely bringing something important to the city, highlighting the culture, messing with all the different talent and media faces and different things, but bringing in talking about serious topics.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. I don't want to, keep discussing the same old things.
No, we're gonna take a quick break, and when I come back with Terrance, we're gonna go a little bit deeper into some of his experiences now. What more people who indulge or have a problem with in this new environment, how they can either contact him or reach him, how they can get involved with his brand. There's been a lot of people affected by drugs, being incarcerated. We'll talk a little bit about mental health. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Mediator, me, Brian West, and Terrance Tarver, Bugs. That's what they call it, Bugs. We'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
We're back here with Terrance Tarver and aka Bugs, and we're talking about some. It's a serious topic. This is like. A lot of people always wonder, you get these young guys, they don't know what they're getting into, Terrance. They think they got the world figured out. Right. And here you have what I see. You get people who have been in the game, seen it for themselves. And what I see is a lot of these older guys trying to warn the next generation. Like, I'm talking to prison guys almost daily. They're like, man, we gotta tell these guys to get. What would your message be for these young cats in the streets right now?
Learn to speak to them in their language. Most of these dudes don't know how to speak to them.
Yeah.
They don't understand just constant words. They want to holler at guys that's doing it. That's why we don't have enough men that's really doing it.
Yeah.
And so you got to learn to speak. Like me, I'm not immature, but I'm youthful. So I can go in any situation, any environment and be comfortable, young, old, whatever, because I know how to speak their language and I know how to speak to them. And that's to them young guys. That's how you got to do it. You can't just preach at them or just try to speak to them in their language.
That's a good way to put it. Now, what I do, this is what I don't know if you remember some of the you had old comedians. You had like I think like the Paul Moody's, the Richard Pryors. You had rappers like Tupac, Biggie Smalls. Now a lot of people don't understand. Like when you talk about the language, Tupac was probably like an ambassador for the streets. He talks about.
I'm glad you brought up Tupac. He's an important figure in the direction. Tupac brought in the loud, bravado, thug. I'm a thug, the tattoo. A lot of these dudes now, man, there's a bunch of Tupac clones. Yeah. Because he was the original of that. But you know what's sad about Tupac? And I was talking about this with a peer. we never got a chance to see what Tupac would have became.
Yeah.
See, the last images of him was the gangster, the gang member, all these things.
Yeah.
But he was so many things, and he was about to really evolve. He would have had evolved way past all that had he lived. But he never got to finish the story, and that's what happened with prophets. Sometimes they get taken from us before the story is complete.
Yeah.
And he was a prophet, man, and so Tupac is he set a standard, and you see it today. Everything you see, the imagery, the tattoos, everywhere.
Yeah.
He set that standard, but then also we never got a chance to see who he would have became.
Now, I've heard people say they talk a lot about, and that's from the career aspect of it. He didn't get a chance. We need to see a chance to be a father. Yeah. Now, if you read the history, you talk about African American. Malcolm X said one of the same thing. I think Malcolm X he said that I know how I'm going to die because of how I live. This was some of his stuff in his books, and he became a messenger. And he had some letdowns. He had some things that happened in his life that he spent his whole life trying to serve the African American community, trying to undo his wrongs.
And he said that one of the things he found out is to try to help and heal your own people will ultimately make you despise them. He said something, man, so powerful, because he got most of his pressure from his own community.
Makes sense.
See, what's up? What's the unfortunate thing about the prophet story? Like guys like Malcolm, who was a prophet, definitely, man. He wasn't loved to be loved as he is now. Back then, some of our own people hated Malcolm, and that was one of the challenges that he had to live with, because he wasn't accepted and received everywhere amongst his own people. It was not until later you get your flowers and when people could see the vision of what you was trying to do. Malcolm, it was unfortunate, and that's what he was talking about. And we got most of the pressure from his own community.
Now these were back in those times where we're starting to. This is the next generation. This is 20th century. You talk about people like Martin Luther King, which is his birthday is coming up. You got people like Muhammad Ali. Now these are from each religion. Now, Martin Luther King's story, when you talk about your own race, your own kind, was different. He was a little bit peacemaker, but he had some things that he had done in his life where people don't talk about. Now these are the realness of the real character. So when you talk about this new day and age,
right,
when you talk about how people who have been in the life get a chance to grow old now, and they get to bring people out of it. Do you think you have enough soldiers on the field to be able to reach the next generation?
You don't need enough soldiers. You just need enough voices. We have to draw a line in our community, and the black folks got to stop letting the niggas run shit. And I just feel lack of a better description. We have to get more serious about what's what. Right now, okay, in this kind of I like these questions. In our community, no. Do I have enough soldiers? No. But what we have to do is have a new narrative, start a new conversation, and that's what this is about. Start a new healthy conversation about what direction. And what happens is, culturally, when we start changing the narrative about who we are, we ain't thugs, we ain't, all these things we call ourselves, we're men, we're black men. And when we start changing the conversation a little bit in the music and get back to that, we can counteract with the negativity that's out there. But we got to start having these conversations and being honest and open about and get rid of all the delusion that's in our culture. So no, is it enough soldiers? Of course not. But you can start the conversation and start getting voices louder and supporting people who portray us in the best light.
Yeah.
And I ain't speaking about anybody in Pacific, but we got to pick people and push them forward who portray us in the best light and stop celebrating ignorance. And that's was one of the way to put it. Martin Luther King said, "There's nothing more dangerous than conscious stupidity and There's nothing more dangerous than conscientious stupidity and intentional ignorance."
Yeah.
It's nothing more dangerous, and that's what we practice
today.
Conscientious stupidity and intentional ignorance.
Now we're living in an environment where we've talked about some serious matters. I do want to talk about the idea of people. People always talk about fathers. Now, I had the blessings of having a father figure around me. I had my mother, and I had to grow up real fast. I was raised in the street culture too, but my path was totally different. I enlisted in the Navy, so when you talk about this father thing, do you think that has anything to do? Now we're not talking about just African American. This is all cultures.
Right.
You think fathers have anything to do with what we're facing?
Of course. I mean, I would be. I mean, you could discredit me if I sat here and say no, of course. But I do have a bit of a different perspective about that. You know, I had a friend who I love. She had a child with a gentleman who wasn't. He already had a lot of kids, and I'm telling her to look, rethink having a child with this man, because if he got other children that he can't manage, your child isn't gonna. So if the father's not right, if the father doesn't have his shit together, I think a woman has the right to put another man in her children's life, and she should do it. But do you need the man and the missing father element? Of course. But the father has to have his shit together, because if he's in the missing form, he has nothing to, what is he going to give his son? He going to teach him how to be like him?
Yeah.
That's one of my biggest concerns, was my son turning out anything like me. Me and my son are totally different. And I love it because none of my poor character traits that I had in that time rubbed off on him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was because I was in prison. And he was raised by a great man, which was our grandfather. So
yeah.
You gotta understand, if the man wasn't in best health and he can't teach that child anything better than he knows, it doesn't matter if he's in the child life or not.
No,
you gotta have healthy fathers. Healthy fathers in these kids' life. Yeah, is a father element a problem? Yeah, not just missing, but healthy people.
No. Before we go on to our next break, I want to get on this prison thing. How many years did you do?
19 altogether, man.
And what was the charges? Tell us a little bit about the charges.
The first time I was charged, it was so crazy. I was charged with conspiracy to possess cocaine. And during that time, while I was waiting to be sentenced, I was indicted again in a whole nother case with conspiracy to distribute cocaine. And I was fighting 2 federal charges at the same time.
When we come back, we're gonna talk to Bugs about the drug game. We're gonna go a little bit in depth about some things that could be revealed, and some signs that the next generation may want to look out for when they are introduced into this game. And then we'll conclude. He'll tell us a little bit about what his goals are, what his clothing line people want to contact him, and if they have their own story, if they have their own goals or morals, he'll give a little bit about that. And we'll be right back here on the Media with me, Brown West, my man Terrance Tarver. We'll be right back.
What does Method8Inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8Inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Welcome back. I'm here with Terrance Tarver, and he's been giving us the spill about being incarcerated, his new life, being free, and not only that, but getting to the next generation, talking to them. Now we're going to talk about something that very few people who survive the drug game get to talk about. We're going to talk about what it was like selling drugs, what it was like, the atmosphere. So now, Terrance, I always hear people who deal with drugs, some of them say you get what you can out of it, and then you get out of it as quickly as possible. Now,
that's the theory.
Is that the theory?
That should be the theory, but that rarely happens.
So some people, I don't know if you remember, they did a whole movie on it where they talk about being in too deep, when you're in too deep. So tell us a little bit about that life. Like how was that life? You know, tell us a little bit about that life.
Let me tell you something, man. In too deep. I hate those movies. They don't really. They over exaggerate and under deliver on a lot of these issues. Let me tell you something, man. It depends on, first of all, it starts off with how you was introduced to it. See, how you was introduced to it determines a lot. Some guys, it looked cool. Hey, they got new Jordans and I want to do it too. And they ran and start, doing it after they was 20, 21 years old or 18 years old. Some guys, start selling weed and then, just kind of be their thing. And then over the years, they progress into selling other drugs. And then you got the ones that come from it, that it was no other way around it. And those, how you was introduced to this life determines your direction in a lot of things. Now, for me to answer the rest of your question, I have sat at tables and witnessed stuff that, man, you couldn't have even imagined when it comes to this streets. And one thing I'll say is that you say, is there any conscience involved?
Yeah.
Man, listen, man. If you have a conscience, it's the death of you in this life, man. That's the part that we can't.
It'll break you.
We can't keep continuing to lie about. It's a no, this game, man, will take you places. If you're not prepared to be the devil and go somewhere, then it ain't for you, because the people who really play in this game, that's how they play it. That's what I mean when I say I sat at tables. It's a everybody like to say, oh, it's chess, not checkers, because it sounds slick.
Yeah.
The game is chess, not checkers, Okay, that's true, but they don't want to accept the other part is that in that game of chess, sometimes pieces and things get sacrificed. It's a natural part of the game. I'm going to sacrifice this piece to get a little bit further. And that's what the game is. Sometimes it's not just about the glory, the glamour, that stuff is a byproduct of the real ugliness of it. And if you want to be, and most of these guys, man, they don't even get to see that part of it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times their life get cut short. Or, other things happen.
Now, when you talk about the product, okay, the product has seeped into not only just the drug game, but it's seeped into the entire medical industry, the whole world. And if they say if you leave this life without being on something, then lucky to you. So when you talk about the product, like the products that's out now, what is it? Has it evolved? Has it got worse?
Hell yeah, man! I'm fitting all out here, man, just downing people, man. I know about 25 people, man, in the last 2 years that probably the OD, man. And it's the, let's just be honest, I've been wanting to say this for a long time, and I know a lot of guys who know where I'm coming from want to say this. It's some cartels, it's them Mexicans, man. They making that now, man, and sending it over here, man. Don't care, and it's downing our people, man.
Yeah.
We have been pawns and for the governments, the cartels. Black people have suffered with this drug issue. Now, but the one thing about that, it's in every community now. Yeah. Because guess what? It's no way you can ever predict or control the collateral damage that these drugs like fentanyl and stuff will do. You can't control the collateral damage of that. And some of these communities is, man, listen, I've been, just in recent months, I found out different people, with these issues and, ODing and stuff. So yeah, man, this is different. One thing about then, you didn't worry about nobody dying, man. Like this, what's going on now is some modern chemical genocide.
Now you're
chemical genocide.
I'm glad you talked about that, because when you talk about what the product has done, now to have a product, there has to be distribution. Now, if you talk about minorities, you talk about inner city people. Inner city people do not have access to logistics. There's no planes. There's no.
Nah, that's not true. I have a plane.
But how did you get that plane?
Through drug trade. I realized.
Did they supply it?
It was kind of, I like to call it like a Forrest Gump moment. Bro, I was just an ambitious young dude, man. And actually the situation fell in my lap. where I went to a car lot one day and I bought a brand new car. And this little white kid comes up to me, just young. He said, you see me buying the car cash. So he says, I fly planes. Just looked at him like, okay, that's nice. He's like, yeah, so I like, really? So we get to talking and he was telling me about, he was really an apprentice, but he was a pilot.
Yeah.
So he took me up, man. I said, we set it up. And I said, man, take me up. I want to see, He said, yeah, man, come on. Just some little white kid worked at the car lot I meet. About a week later, he take me up. We fly over, the city, fly over Cleveland and came back. And from there on, man,
you had your own empire.
A light bulb went off in my head, and we got to it. Unfortunately, it led us all to federal prison because him and my baby brother ended up getting jammed up in that plane. And it was so crazy because they weren't even supposed to, be in that situation. But that's what I'm saying is how you can't control the variables no more. Like it used to be a time you can like measure the mistakes and okay, I can take. Now, man, there's no room for mistake. And back then, we were just young, like I said, ambitious, man, bold. And I stumbled on the plane, and well, you know what, I had my own, and we got to it.
See, now you got technology. You got they have cell phones. They've got Google tracking devices. So it's almost like a game of where you're locked in. If you're locked in,
let me tell you something. I'll take you deeper than that, bro. That's the thing. Yeah, they monitoring your games or movies, okay, bro. They listening. If there's a cell phone around here on right now. Listen, in my last investigation, man, and this is something, man, I'm about to get a little loose at the lip.
That's all right.
But I'm telling my business. My last investigation, the federal government listened to phone conversations when I wasn't on the phone. Well, listen to conversations when I wasn't on the phone. They got technology, man. They don't even need to be in, they don't need to, just tap your phone or, monitor your social media traffic. They can look in your camera, and it happened because it came up in my investigation notes.
Yeah.
And had I not been so diligent, I would have missed that fact. But when you find stuff out like that during the discovery phase of going through these federal, man, listen, it's scary what they can do. And I'm thinking, what, I'm not looking at myself as this, because I know, the realities of the game. So I'm a humble dude in the same token, but I wasn't looking at why would they put that much money and pressure on to get somebody like me. But that's what I'm telling you. These people can listen to anything right now. If it's a cell phone on in this area, they can listen to us. It was in my documents.
Do you think it's a trap?
Definitely a trap. And we're moving towards a more controlled society, man. It's a lot going on. Everybody worry about looking good and winning, including myself. But we got to look at the reality. It's a lot going on right under our nose in this culture, man. Now, technology is really starting to put us in a bind.
One of the final things I want to talk about before we conclude is I've talked to people. They talk about how the arts and culture have been infiltrated with to basically populate prisons, to basically destroy a society, brainwash people. Do you believe that?
150%, but here's the thing. I have another perspective. It's true. Okay. It's true. But we got to stop being cooperative victims.
Yeah.
We got to stop participating in and counteract that by stop participating in our own demise and culture of violence, culture of hate. You know what I mean? So yeah, they're doing it. It's a strategic plan. It's in the music. It's in everything you see, especially in they greenlight any kind of movie now because all of it influences fragile psyches, man.
Yeah.
So the young people who ain't fully there yet, ain't fully developed mentally, they consume this stuff, and it develops their worldview, and a lot of times it's toxic. So yeah, man, we got to stop participating in our own.
It's amazing. It's so amazing how you approach the topic, and how you were able to hit on so many key talking points. We talked about the drug game. We talked about there's other avenues that people want to touch on, especially when you talk about the money, the wealth. Now, how do you think this? When you talk about an infiltration of a society, I don't know if people actually even know the Lucas story where he went over and got pure coke. I think it was pure cocaine from China, if I'm not mistaken. Was it cocaine? So you talk about a society that now you have people who deal it just to wash out neighborhoods and buy real estate. I mean, tell now the business of it has gotten very aggressive, where you have people getting smart. They're buying land, buying out their neighborhoods, and they're staying off the. So tell us a little bit about that before we conclude.
I don't, we live in a capitalist society, Brian.
Yeah,
It's capitalism. It's not even all this personal stuff that we make it. It's part conspiracy, but it's capitalism. And then, every different group, ethnic group has, that's one thing I'm trying to promote is, man, let's get to the business.
yeah.
Let's get to the business of this stuff and start really developing some real revenue for this city and this community. Yeah, it's just business. I don't care what it is. It's socks, rubber booties for baby cows. I don't care. It's all about, we live in a capitalist society. It's about making money. And that's all everybody cares about. When you realize that, you begin to quit taking things so personal.
Is it a way out? Is that the way out?
Never. Not in this society. Unfortunately, it's the Bible predicts it. The Bible, it's biblical, brother. The diminishment of our culture and society and what you see going on. So it's on a lot of levels.
So basically it's the product and the consumer. If you consume the product,
definitely, our minds are many amazing computers. And once you feed, and you know what? Something I want to address. You mentioned young people earlier, and I think I did, but it's right now our whole entire culture is susceptible to this conditioning. I don't care. It's not a young or old thing, but unfortunately, you could try to get to the younger before they start getting indoctrinated with all this toxic rationale and stuff that we got. That's
the way to put it. Yeah.
But it's not a young or old thing. It's across the board. It's
across the board.
Look at the relationship of black men and black women right now. All you see is us fighting each other or trying to, that's all by design, man. It's all a part of, biblical history. So we gotta get right, man.
Last question before we get to your last spills. Do you think that the world will ever get over the damage or the fact that drugs are here, the plants, the coca leaves?
Man, people
think it's impossible.
They'll find something else. No, we'll never.
It's good words of wisdom.
Now, people going to get high, drunk. People going to
just the way of the world.
Never, man.
Never. All right. Lastly, before we close out, are there any last words you want to tell people out there? And then we'll get to how they can get in contact with you if they want to chat with you.
Man, I want to thank you, man, for this opportunity. You can reach me. Y'all know the platform Hood Politics. Listen, man, Hood Politics Media on YouTube and Hood Politics on Facebook, and as well as IG. Listen, man. Also, that launch, Habitual Hustler brand, I'm having my launch super soon, man. I'm just perfecting everything. That's one of the main things I want to, talk about too. Is like I said, it's about right now focusing on bigger things. Stop throwing our life away to the little things, man, that we have been. Listen, again, Habitual Hustler, Hood Politics. That's all I got going on. You can hit me at hoodpolitics1973@gmail.com. Also, I want to sit here right here in front of you, my brother, man, and with respect and just give you your flop, man. Listen, I love what you're doing, man. I love what you're doing. Keep it up, man. One of the things we got to have if we're going to do this is serious journalism. We got to have honesty. We got to play fair. Hood Politics or this is not a gossip platform or nothing, man. It's about focusing on real issues, man. And getting to something.
Good. And this is one of the few guys that has given us time. A lot of people are vilified when they get caught up in the incarceration system, but there's a lot of people who want to get out and just be normal people, live their life. Some people want to get away from the madness, and some people have no choice. At times, they have to feed their families. And that's that's one of the final talking points that I did want to make, is that some people who are tangled up in that life, the reason why they go back is because society never ever actually accepts them, and they don't know anything else. They don't know anything else. Is that true? I mean, would you say that's true?
Definitely, it's definitely true. It's the conditioning,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of times it's the go-to survival technique that most of us was taught, and that's what I had to condition out of myself to get in a better place and see my real gifts and move differently. But it's conditioning, man, and we just gotta get our brothers and sisters some help that's struggling with it, man. We don't need reparations. We need mental health help.
Yeah, mental
our
health.
community, man, to get us back on track.
And that's why I had to bring that up, because like you said, the mental health, the way people thinking, the way they're thinking, change your thinking. Like I said, scripture talks about washing away past, the God of a second chance. Some people don't get a second chance. Some people don't make it out alive.
Man, I done got a second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th chance, man. 20. So, so I'm blessed, man, and I'm here because I know God put me here to talk about these issues and glorify Him, man.
Well, it's been a great interview. Are there any last comments you want to make before we close out?
No, man, I'm good, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Bugs, for coming on, being an ambassador for Youngstown, the culture, the system that's put in place. Maybe one day when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the city, the justice system. Did you want to add anything about a lot of people? I mean, how do you feel about Youngstown justice system?
Man, that's a whole nother segment.
Another segment they heard from. So maybe one day you come back and we'll chat about it. But I want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for tuning into the Mediator with me, Brian West. I want to thank my man Terrance Tarver for his time. Thank the crew, the production crew, and everybody. Enjoy your time and be humble, be grateful, be thankful. And if you want to show us some support here at Method 8 for viewing this segment, it does not take much. All you do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Youngstown, Boardman, Ohio. And stop at the store, see my smiling face. I'm in here. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I am out of here. Have a good week. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator. Me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The